General George S. Patton once said, "The soldier is the army. No army is better than its soldiers." Today's American Army is the most combat-hardened force to have ever existed. The United States has been in constant conflict since 2001, meaning that the soldiers joining the Army now were typically born into a war that they are now being deployed into. The international pressures that exist today mean that now more than ever, the United States Army needs to be the best, a title we have enjoyed for some time, but as the saying goes, complacency kills, and now is not the time to become complacent as a force. Beginning in October of 2020, the U.S. Army will implement the Army Combat Fitness Test, or ACFT, as the new physical fitness test of record. This means that they will be phasing out the current Army Physical Fitness Test, or APFT, in favor of this very different test. There are positive aspects of both tests, but despite the criticism the ACFT often faces from service members, it is certainly the better test of physical fitness and the direction the U.S. Army should continue to move towards. Before going into the major ways that the new ACFT is superior to the APFT, or the current test as standard, we need to distinguish what is so different about the two. According to Army Regulation 350-1, the current test of record is the APFT, or Army Physical Fitness Test. The APFT consists of 3 events: a 2-minute push-up event, a 2-minute sit-up event, and finally, a 2-mile run. The grading standards are dependent upon your gender and age and vary wildly between men and women. The ACFT, by contrast, is a 5-event test, including a 3-repetition deadlift, a standing power throw with a medicine ball, a hand release push-up, a sprint drag carry, leg tuck pull-ups, and finally, a 2-mile run, because, let's face it, it's still the Army and no matter what, you'll have to run. In addition to the drastic differences in the events and intensity between the two tests, the ACFT also has 3 sets of grading categories that are specific to an individual's job within the Army. With the ACFT, gone are the days of different standards for men and women. While the APFT does offer advantages, especially to reserve and guard soldiers, in that there is no equipment involved, the test can be conducted anywhere in the world, and it is far too easy to be an accurate representation of physical fitness. Granted, easy is a relative term. However, in this case, you can objectively look at the two tests and distinguish that the ACFT, or Army Combat Fitness Test, is more difficult. The ACFT may be a logistical nightmare, trying to coordinate equipment and graders, and the astronomically high failure rate amongst females are all challenges. However, these are growing pains, and the U.S. Army will be able to compensate for these issues and make this work effectively. One of the best things about the ACFT is that it's no longer age or gender specific. There are 3 categories that you can fall under for grading: heavy, significant, and moderate. Your placement in these categories is entirely dependent on the job you hold, meaning that an infantryman and a human resources specialist, such as myself, will have different standards for grading. However, I, as a human resources specialist, and my male counterparts that hold the same job will have the exact same grading standards. That is a change that has been a long time coming. How can we call ourselves the greatest fighting force ever assembled, while simultaneously allowing easier standards for females, which according to ArmyTechnology.com accounts for 14% of our total force? Having these easier standards does not benefit women. Instead, it leads to doubt in every accomplishment they encounter in the Army. Because so much of the Army is centered on physical fitness, your promotions, access to schools, and job opportunities are all dependent on how well you do on your physical fitness test. In fact, if you fail 2 record fitness tests in a row, you'll be chaptered out of the Army entirely. Because the female standards on the APFT are so much easier, it leads to resentment for males when women get picked over them for career advancement opportunities. I can't tell you how many times I have personally been told you wouldn't have been able to score such a high score on your APFT if you had to take the man's test. It is time for the Army to transition to one standard. If more women fail, so be it. They will overcome or they will get out. But at the end of the day, the Army prides itself on being the great equalizer. And part of maintaining that is to maintain one standard in all arenas, including PT. This test is hard. I have personally been preparing for it for nearly 2 years, and I am able to pass it according to the heaviest standards, but I will never be able to max it out, no matter how hard I train. According to athleticbusiness.com, 84% of females and 30% of males fail the ACFT. This test is going to take a lot of getting used to and will require much more effort on the part of the soldier and independent training to pass. However, part of being the best is holding oneself to the highest standard. The U.S. Army is the best in the world, so we must continue to hold ourselves to the highest standard. It is no mistake that the Army ties so much of your career into physical fitness. Your discipline in the gym directly translates to other aspects of your life. If you've been in the Army long enough, you can recognize this easily. Almost exclusively, the best leaders you encounter are the ones that hold themselves to a high physical standard and encourage the soldiers under them to do the same. We must continue to challenge ourselves and maintain discipline in and out of the gym. So yes, there are positive aspects of both tests. Yes, the APFT is easier, both in how it's conducted and how it's graded. But no one joined the Army because they thought it was easy. They joined because they wanted to make a difference in one way or another in the world's greatest fighting force. We can't continue to do the easy thing. We must challenge ourselves in order to maintain our place at the top. Because, after all, it's like General Patton said, the Army is only as good as the soldier.